Hello. So in this video, I'm actually going to log into a database server and do some queries of the types that I just went over in the last video. And if we were doing this in class, we would be having this SQL exercise where we would go through these questions and try to write queries on a database that kind of approximates or simulates a kind of GameStop store. On the back page of the exercise is the schema for the database. So what we've got here are the tables that I was talking about in the earlier video. So we have a titles table that's associated with a publishers table and associated with a platforms table. And we're not actually going to use the inventory and the stores in this table or in this exercise, but the queries that we write are going to be using this schema. And then what questions are those actually going to be? What queries are going to write? Those are the ones that were actually listed up top. So these are the queries that we're going to write, and I'll just read them off so you don't have to kind of be scrolling around. But if you happen to have, if you want to download this, open this up, print this out, whatever, so you have the schema to work off of, it's going to make it a lot easier. So I'm going to work through these and then so you can see some examples of how to write queries. Now again, where we're going with this is how people I would say this is a very kind of 1990s technology, or up until LINQ, which is I guess actually pretty recently. So I mean SQL is certainly still out there, definitely. And up until now, programs have been writing SQL queries to go hit the database and get the data back. But what if the database changes? Then the code has to change, right? So LINQ is kind of it's really a really vast improvement over embedding SQL directly into the language, right? So that's where we're going. So we're learning how to write SQL so we can see how LINQ is really trying to replace SQL. Okay, so let's pop over to the database server here. So I am running MySQL on a Raspberry Pi. This is not my only option though. You can get Microsoft SQL Server Community Edition, and you can install that, and Visual Studio will play nicely with that. But I just happen to have this thing all set up and ready to go, so why not use it? Let's take a look at what's going on here. So this I'm running the MySQL, but each one of these things on the left is a different database on that server. So there's one database server, but it is hosting multiple databases. So when you connect to a server to do operations, you have to say what database are you trying to access on that server, and then you also have to provide a connection string which contains the credentials for actually accessing that database. So the one we're going to operate in here is the GameStop database. So let me expand that, and you'll see that it's got these tables. I've got a platforms table, publishers table, stores table, titles table. Let's look at the titles. This is what we kind of saw earlier in the presentation. Every field has a primary key, which is a unique number. It has a title and the publisher. Now the publisher, these numbers are foreign keys, right? They correspond to a primary key in the publisher table. Same with platform. The rating is just a single character, and we have a price and a release date. What else do we have? I guess that's it. So those are the fields that we have in the title table. Let's go look at some of the other tables here. So the platforms table, we have primary keys, and then we have the names of some different consoles, right? So one is the Xbox, like platform 1 is the Xbox, platform 2 is PS4, platform 3 is the Wii, 4 is the Wii U. And then let's go look in the publishers table. So again, we have publisher 1 is Activision Blizzard, and there's the information about them. Publisher 2 is Nintendo USA. There's all the info about that. And there's publisher 3. So you can see that you can see how this works. Now, again, by putting all the publisher info in a separate table, we're not we're saving a huge amount of duplication. Otherwise, every game from Ubisoft USA or Ubisoft, I don't know, Electronic Arts would have to have all of this information in every record, so for every Electronic Arts game, but by saying, okay, hang on, every Electronic Arts game has publisher 4, and then we put publisher 4's info in a separate table. Now we have only that, we have that publisher info only once instead of, kind of for every game that's published by Electronic Arts. So let's actually write some queries now that select records out of this this database. And I can do that here. I just go up to the little SQL tab, and now I can type in my query here. And I wish there were a way to make that font bigger. I'm sure there is if I went and hacked all the CSS. And then I click go, and it'll run that query. So let's just do a real easy one here. Select star. Oh, I'll just run the one they give me. Select star from the publishers table, and I'll click go. And let's see what comes back. You can see we get everything out of the publishers table. Next time I'll just select the name here. Let me go back to, I think there's a button for editing the query. Edit. There we go. Let's just, instead of selecting everything, let's just select the name from the publishers table. Select the name from publishers, and you don't have to put the ticks. I don't usually do that, and the where one is kind of useless. Select the name from publishers. All right, let's run that, see what it does. Go. Oh look, we got all the names from the publishers table. All right, cool. So first question, find the oldest title. Well, how do we do that? Now, if you're an SQL whiz, my hat's off to you. I'm an accomplished mediocrity at SQL. However, somehow I've managed to make it through life knowing only a mediocre amount of SQL. So if I'm doing something and there's a better way to do it, by all means tell me so I know. But so the way I'm telling you here may not be the best, but it'll work. I guarantee it. So find the oldest title. So how would we do that? Okay, so let's find the oldest title here. So let's say select star from, let's change publishers, let's change this to the titles table. And maybe we don't even want everything from the titles table. Maybe we just want the name of the oldest title. So if I do that, select the name from the titles, what do I get? Do I get an error, or I get select unknown name? Okay, I don't know if you saw that, unknown name in the field list. Okay, so let's go to the let's go to the titles table and see what's actually in there. Columns. It's just called title. That's the name. So select title from titles, and if I run that, there you go. So we got all the names. We got all the names, but that's close. That's not what we really want, though. Let's go edit that. Now let's filter it with the where clause. Let's say, no, let's not filter it. Let's order them by. Do we have a release? I think we had a release date field. Order by release date. Okay. Now let's run that. And oh well, now we don't really know what's going on because all we're seeing is the name. So instead of, how do I edit that? Let's go edit that query. So let's select the title and the release date from titles. And you'll notice, like, these things are not, the SQL keywords are not case sensitive. That's just something to note. Let's run that. Okay, so now you can see that we're, well, they actually did seem to come back in sorted order. So now we're getting there. Oh, because we have order by release date. Okay, yeah. Let's order them by release date and then just take the first one, limit 1. So select all the titles and the release dates from titles, order them by release date in ascending order, and limit them by 1. Click go, and Call of Duty 2003. So let's go into our the actual title table and take a look and see what is. Do we have? Can we manually verify that there's Call of Duty 2003? Okay, so it is in there. So that was correct. All right. So there we go. Find the oldest title. All right. The next query: find the most expensive product. Let's go to our SQL tab. So let's select the title and the price from titles. is going to be very similar. The most expensive title. So let's do it an order by price, and then let's do it, sort them descending, limit 1. So now we're going to, there's our query, select the title and the price from titles, but then sort them descending, and then just only give us the first one. And we got Smash Brothers at $59.99. So I'm going to say that that's correct. Let's see, what else? Select the number of products rated T. All right. Okay, so let's go into our titles table here and take a look at our data. So we have a rating field, and that's just a single character. So find all the products. Okay, so we want to count them up. We don't just want to find them, we want to count them. So let's say select star from titles where rating equals T. And let's just try that for now. Go. So we got, see, now we got them all filtered by T. Now let's count them. So instead of saying just selecting them all, let's do select count and run that. And we got 13. So there were 13 rated T. All right, next query. So I'm going to modify this. I'm just going to, it says find the number of titles by Nintendo. I'm just going to say just find the titles by Nintendo. Now let's take a look at this one. So our titles table here, as we said before, it has a publisher column, and our publisher column, or publisher table, actually has the name. So we need to find the titles who have a publisher code of 2. But let's not cheat and just select them out where the publisher code is 2. Let's select them out where the publisher's name is Nintendo USA. That's going to require us to do a join. We're going to have to join the titles table to the publishers table using the publisher ID in the titles table and the ID field in the publishers table. So this is going to be a join. Because we're going to join them on these two columns. So let's pop back to our query analyzer here, or our query tool. So let's select, let's see, title from titles. Okay, so there's the first part. So we're going to pull out the name, and now we need a join. So let's join on the publishers table, and now we have to say what fields we want to associate. The field in the first, what field in the first table, what field in the second table have to be the same in order to match up the records. Okay, so the publisher, the titles.publisher. The titles publisher is equal to the publisher's ID. There you go. So that now we're associating all of the records in the two tables based on the matching of the publishers. And then, actually let me print out here. Let's go look at our schema. Does the publisher has a name. Okay, let's print out the publisher's name. Publisher, so let's select the title and the name. Now, name is unique, so we don't have to say publishers.name, but if there were, if the title field had a name too, then we'd have to qualify it with the table name. So let's run that. Let's just run that and see what we get. So there's the result of our join, right? We got the title from one field and the corresponding publisher name in another field, in the other table. So there you go. So there you can see that's the result of our join. We joined the two tables together using the publisher info. Now let's go back and edit that, and then we'll say where name equals, now I don't have to say publishers.name because name is unique in this context, where name equals Nintendo USA. Let's try that. Let's see if that works. Go. There you go. So now we got all our Nintendo games. Yay. All right. Okay. This one is find all the titles for the Wii which are rated E. All right. So let's take a look at our tables again. Let's go back to our schema. And the rating is stored in the titles table. So we can select stuff from the titles table where the rating is E. But if we need to find things that are just for the Wii, then what we want to do is join the titles table and the platforms table and filter out, using a where clause, the records, or filter in the ones that where the name of the platform is Wii. So in this one, we're going to join titles and platforms. So let's pop over to our query analyzer here. Let's edit it. Let's make our query, and let's select our title from the titles table, and now we're going to join to the platforms table. And when we join, we have to say what fields are we going to associate. Field, the field in one table corresponds to this other field in the other table. We have to specify the fields that have to match. So the titles platform is equal to the platform's ID. So if we go to our, I don't want to pop out of the titles yet, but a title has a platform, right? And the platform is a number, and that number for the platform corresponds to an entry in the platforms table. So like platform 5 could be the Xbox, platform 1 could be PS4 or something. So what we're doing is we have to associate these two tables, titles and platforms, using by matching up the platform field and the ID field. And then we want to filter. So filter is a where. Titles dot rating. Actually, I don't have to say titles dot rating, but I could equals E. I could just say rating, because rating is a unique name. Only one table's got it. It doesn't hurt to leave that there. So select everything out of the titles table and then join with the platforms table by matching up the platform numbers, and then finally filter them out where the rating is equal to E. And let's run it. And there we go. So those are the ones that are rated E. All right. So those are the kind of things that you do with queries. Select, join, where, limit. Keep that in mind, because when we get to link, guess what we're going to be doing? Exactly the same thing. So what link is going to look like, it's going to look like these SQL queries, but the syntax will be slightly different and the clauses will be in a different order. But aside from that, what you see in link will be recognizably SQL. It's like link is an SQL-like language that has been shoehorned into the .NET framework. So now that you've kind of seen some SQL, when you see link, you'll be like, oh, okay, I get what it's trying to do. It's trying to allow me to do operations like this on a bunch of lists and join them together and filter records and just get me the ones I want. So, so now that you've seen this, hopefully link will make a lot more sense. And while I'm geeking out about link here, they don't just have to be linked lists of data. You could say, find me all the controls of a certain type on this interface using a link query rather than having to do a lot of looping. So once you kind of get link under your belt, it actually really streamlines your code because it eliminates the need for a lot of tedious for each loops that you would have had to write by hand or before if you didn't know how to use link. So in the next video, I'll kind of walk through how link works syntactically and then some examples of using that.